YouTube? This is your boy Alex. I'm at the Grove, and today is Friday. And you know how I do my YouTube videos, right? Before we start the subject matter, I always do what? I do thank you shout outs. Now, I gotta say thank you to these two ladies. I think it was one white girl, one Asian girl, or they're both Asian girls that let me take a picture of them. Now, the picture wasn't perfect, but I did try my best. It's hot. I mean, it's summertime, it's Friday, it's hot. And as a YouTube superstar, we don't expect someone to ask us to take their picture unless, it's, urgent. So when you're at the Grove, people want to do sightseeing. So as you can see, I'm in the shade because it's too hot and I want to stay out of the sun as much as possible. So I want to say thank you to them. I want to say thank you to this black girl that I ran into 24 hours ago at Food for Less. So I want to say thank you because about 5 months ago, my two dogs decided to run away and go on a field trip, and she found my other dog when she did not have to return the dog back to me. So you understand that. I have to say thank you because some people can watch my videos and misconstrue what I say and take it personal, like some stupid idiots. Now, speaking of stupid idiots, today's YouTube video presentation is going to be called Sex Game Part 2 of Lights, Camera, Television and Film, or we're going to put YouTube, TV, and film so I can explain the difference between all three. Because some people think that when you do YouTube, they think that's television and film. And when I was in film school, my teacher had to actually explain to me the difference between YouTube, television, and film, and how each relates to each other, but how each has advantages and disadvantages, how one works and how one comes up short. So I never finished part one because the camera cut off. This is part two, but we're at the Grove. And if the video is very well received, then we make part three where we break into the advantages and disadvantages of each one. Today we're going to talk about YouTube because everyone's doing YouTube videos. So let me explain how I became a YouTube superstar. It didn't happen overnight. It actually took like almost 5 years. So you could say 4 years and 5 months I became a YouTube superstar. Now, I became popular. You could say popular, you could say famous. I prefer popularity because it's the internet, so I'm going to say popularity. Now, when I first got on the internet, it was to express myself. It wasn't to be popular. It wasn't for 15 minutes of fame. And it wasn't for getting attention. It was to keep me from getting out of trouble because if you believe it or not, I actually would get into a lot of trouble. I would come home from college. I would have too much time on my hands. I would be at home for 2 hours, 3, 4, 5 hours, and I would get into arguments with my mom's boyfriend. And then my mom had to give me those motivational speeches that mothers give that when you come home from college or from work and you've got all this time on your hands, that's not good. Because when you get in your late 20s, your 30s, you can get into a lot of trouble. Like, what she was talking about was you could be walking down the street and somebody could see you and then, basically point you out to the police and then you get in trouble because you don't have nothing constructive to do with your time. So I would go in front of the camera like I am right now. Now, you could say in the first 2 years I was mad. Because when you're in your early 20s and you're angry, you're angry at everything. You're angry at the world. You're angry with yourself. You like to blame people for your problems. You don't want to take responsibility for yourself and the mistakes that you've done. Like, I told you I was going to make a YouTube video called If I Can Go Back in Time, the mistakes that I've done, if I can go back in time and fix them, I could. So I'll give you a prime example of what I'm referring to. The first mistake I did was the childish nonsense I did in high school. If I could go 14 years back into the past when I was at Westchester High School, I would tell my younger version, stop trying to force stuff from happening. Like, girls, right? One of my biggest problems when I was in high school and sometimes in college was coming off too strong and too powerful. And my mom used to always tell me, if you keep on coming off extremely strong and powerful, you're going to make women go from finding you physically sexually attractive to not finding you physically sexually attractive at all. You start giving women flowers, roses, they're going to think that's strange and suspicious, and they're going to think you're trying to get something from them. And then that can land you, I don't know, a police officer knock on your door and hit you with a restraining order. And my mom was trying to explain to me there are consequences to your actions. Now, let's take it into YouTube terms. Now, for people who are trying to break into YouTube, I'm going to make a completely separated YouTube video on Sunday called Sex Game, the Top 10 Rules of Being a YouTube Superstar, because there are some men, some young men in their 20s that are confused, and I don't want you guys to be saying, hey, Alexander, well, you blew up on YouTube. How come you never told me this information? So I'm going to tell it 5 to 10 minutes, and then we get on to the subject matter. Now, what you have to understand is YouTube can make you or YouTube can break you. Just like television and film can make you, it can break you. Doing YouTube videos on the internet, it can make you or it can break you. There's being famous, then there's infamous. Infamous means you're famous for something that's bad and terrible. That's what you don't want. You don't want that in television and film. You don't want that in Hollywood, because it follows you everywhere you go. It's like a black cloud. It follows you everywhere, to work, the gym, the nightclub and bar. Every time you go somewhere, people see you, and the first thing they do is they look at your face, and then they power walk and they walk away from you because it's infamous. Even if you go on camera, and I'm telling this to you younger guys, because I've seen a lot of YouTubers get their channels terminated. And I don't know if anybody has told these individuals this or not. So I thought, you know what? I'm popular. People see my videos, good and bad. And I have to tell that information, because the last thing I want is for you guys to come hunt me down 5, 10, 15 years from now and punch me in the face and say, you ain't never told us this is what happens when you get on the internet. The internet can be a very great and fun and exciting place to be. And it also can be your worst living nightmare. You could say one thing 5 minutes, everybody thinks you're the king. You say something 10 minutes later and you can be condemned to hell. Like, you literally can be condemned to hell. So you have to be careful what you say on the internet, because you don't know who's watching. Everybody watches your videos. You may think people that you went to high school and college don't watch your videos. Oh, they watch your videos. What it is they don't say anything. That's what I'm going to talk about in Sunday's video. They don't say nothing. They just watch your videos. And it doesn't matter if you apologize 1 time, 5 times, 10 times. You can apologize 50 to 100 times. Once the damage is done, the damage is done. You're lucky if they forgive you and accept you. Sometimes you can get accepted, and sometimes you can't get accepted. A prime example of that is Michael Vick, former professional football player. Everybody liked Michael Vick in the beginning of his NFL career. And then guess what? He did something very stupid, right? He decided to fight dogs. And he lost endorsement deals. He lost millions of dollars. He lost contracts. Nobody in television and film wanted to work with him ever again. And he almost was out of the NFL for like almost 3 years. Then he apologized. Then he changed and he reformed himself. But even when he did it, there's still some people that will never, and I mean never, ever forget what he did. That's what I mean by once you do something, the damage is done. So if you make YouTube videos disrespecting someone, don't be surprised or shocked if they get angry and they take issue with you. They don't have to talk to you if they don't want to. That's another rule I'm going to talk about on YouTube, because some YouTubers love when people respond in the comment section, and then when they get hit with constructive criticism, they can't handle that constructive criticism. People are not stupid, okay? People watch your videos 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So you say one thing somebody don't like, just remember, whether they're male or female, young or old or black or white, you are going to pay for the consequences of your actions. And when I mean the consequences of your actions, you will pay. Doesn't matter if you apologize once you say it, it's like what my old television producer in the film television department at Los Angeles City College once told me. You go on the internet like this and you make a mistake, the whole entire world sees it. I don't care if you forgot to brush your teeth, you forgot to brush your hair, you go on camera and it's live, the whole world's gonna see it. Now, YouTubers who make mistakes because they get such in a rush for the attention. There's good attention, there's bad attention when it comes to YouTube. YouTube doesn't always translate to television and film in Hollywood. Just because you're popular on the internet, that doesn't mean people in the world of television and film know who you are. Just because you say, I got 100,000 subscribers or 100 million views, or I got 33 subscribers or 50 subscribers, that does not mean big time Hollywood executives know who you are. They can look at you like, okay, so you do the YouTube, you do the internet, wow. How does that make me show you some respect? So don't think that because you do YouTube videos that someone's gonna take you serious. I've been taken serious, but I'm trying to explain to you because I see a lot of YouTubers come on here and they have big aspirations for Hollywood. And the last thing I want you guys to have is your dreams get destroyed and flushed down the toilet because you get your hopes so high that when you don't get into television and film, you take it personal. I've seen plenty of people when I was in college get jobs in movies and television, and then 5-10 years go by, nothing happens. And then they're angry at the whole entire world because they thought if they did, a YouTube video here or there, they thought it was going to translate to television and film. So that's the thing I want you to understand if you're starting your career off. I'm explaining my story because I want you younger guys that are 18, 19, 20, 25 years old, I want you to understand that just because you see my videos blow up and they get a lot of attraction, that doesn't mean people in Hollywood know who I am. Just because I do videos, that does not mean Hollywood executives know who I am. To them, I'm nobody. To them, I'm just like you. I have feelings, I have emotions, I'm human. Sometimes I make mistakes, and yes, unfortunately, I pay the consequences of my actions. Whether it's I get a 3-hour lecture from my father explaining to me how life works, the do's and the don'ts, I get lectures. It may not look like I get consequences, but I do. I get on the bus and I forget to pay, I get kicked off the bus. It happens before. It ain't happened now, but back then it did happen. I did kicked off the bus twice because I did not have my fare. You say something on camera, people will punish you just for you even trying to be a smartass. That's one thing on the internet that you have to understand is just because you have the answers to all the questions or to all the problems, that does not mean everybody wants you to give up the answers at that very moment. That's how come you see people's YouTube channels get terminated and taken off the internet. You get too many strikes, bye-bye, see you later. YouTube's not going to feel sorry for you because you made 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mistakes. You pay the consequences, and when you pay those consequences, it don't matter how many times you apologize. It could be 5 years later, it could be 10 years later. No one's going to want to talk to you because of what you did when you was on the internet. Now, if you make a mistake here or there, they might forgive you, but always remember this. And my teacher at Los Angeles City College told me this. They will never, ever forget what you've done. The reason why I'm explaining YouTube first is because I don't want you to get confused that because my videos blow up and go viral. Try to understand, it happened by accident. It wasn't a post to make me popular. It wasn't a post to make me famous. It was designed to keep me from getting out of trouble because when I finished all my homework and I did all my house chores, I got in front of the camera to express myself creatively because my mom told me one of my biggest challenges is learning how to talk socially and learning how to stop taking stuff personal. My second biggest challenge was learning how to accept constructive criticism. One of my third biggest challenges is learning how to accept being rejected. Like my mom would tell me, when a woman tells you no, the answer is no. Don't be trying to force anything. Don't be trying to think that because you look good, which That's another video that I'm going to make completely separated from this. So I'm trying to at least get to the YouTube part so you guys get the understanding of it. Now let's get to film. Now, filmmaking is different from YouTube. They're similar. You have to edit, and same thing. You make a mistake, it's on film. Even if you edit the mistake, people are still going to know you're making a mistake. Now, with film, I would say film is similar to YouTube, because you do a mistake, right? It can make or it can break you. Like a lot of these movies, right? A lot of these big Hollywood blockbuster movies, when they come out, they can make your career or they can break your career. There are so many actors, so many actresses, past and present, that do not YouTube videos, but do Hollywood films, and it breaks their career, and their career is over in an instant. And then they have to go to television to revive their career. And they're never the same actor or actress when they get on the television. Like, they start off real big in the very beginning. They start off real big. And then all of a sudden, they have one movie bomb at the box office, then 2 movies, then 3, then 4. And every time you do a movie and it bombs at the box office, nobody wants to come pay $10 or $15 or $20 a ticket to see your movies. Because every time they see your movies, they bomb at the box office. That means you're not a big draw. If you're a good blockbuster actor, then sometimes film is like this, because film is funny. You could be a big draw on film, but be terrible drawing on television. You could be very good drawing on television, but you could be terrible on film. You see the similarities between YouTube and film? Both are similar, right? YouTube, you make a mistake, the whole world sees it. You do a mistake on film, the whole world sees it, right? Even if you can edit, even if you get 10 of the world's greatest experts to edit your videos, the mistake is there forever. You could be 50 years old, 70 years old. Nobody talks about it no more. But the reality is, you made a mistake and it's there forever. I don't care if you change your first and last name. I don't care if you move to another city, another state. People will see it, and people will react one or two ways: negative or positive. Even if you apologize, they're not gonna want to what's the word I'm looking for? They're not gonna want you talking to them. So you may think that you've done something right. To another group of people, you've done something wrong. So you see the similarities between YouTube and film. With film, either you're a big draw or you're not a big draw. If you do good in film, you're expected to do that in television. Where in television, you don't have to be a big draw on television if you don't want to, but film, you have to, because your face sells the movie. You look at Robert Downey Jr. when he does the movie Iron Man. His face sells the Iron Man films, right? If those movies bombed at the box office, nobody would watch those films. When you see Captain America First Avenger, Captain America Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Christopher Evans, the actor who plays Steve Rogers Captain America, his face sells the movie. When you watch Thor Dark World, even though it's a terrible film, Thor Ragnarok, Chris Hemsworth's face sells the movies. That's how the producer figure out how to generate millions, if not billions of dollars. That's how you figure out how to generate millions of dollars. His face sells those movies. And it's the same thing with YouTube. If people watch your videos and you put out 1 video, 2 videos, 3 videos, you put out 10 videos, and you still keep getting negative reactions, well, the first rule is YouTube can make or it can break you. Second rule is you probably do something in the videos to portray either a negative stereotype or you put out too much energy of negativity. And 99.99%, nobody wants to be around someone that's negative, period. Male or female, young or old, black or white. It's okay to make 2 or 3 mistakes in film. It's okay to make 2 or 3 mistakes on the internet. It's like what my basketball coach told me at the YMCA. It's okay to make 2, 3 mistakes. But when you make 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mistakes, you got to pay your consequences. And you ask a lot of those professional athletes in basketball and football, when they make mistakes outside the sport, even though they apologize, no one forgets that. No one forget it. I've made mistakes on the internet. And have I been called out for it? Yes, I have. I've been called out by people in the comment section. I've been called out by YouTubers. I've even had some people call me out in person when I make 2 or 3 mistakes. So you have to learn how to own up to your mistakes when it's film and when it's on the internet. You see how YouTube and film are similar, right? Now here's where they're different. With film, you're trying to get in the top 5, number 1 at the box office. Your movie's number 1, you draw big. If you're number 2 or number 3 at the box office, you still draw big. YouTube, on the other hand, if you are number 1, if the ratings are down, it's your fault. If people run away and hide from you, it's your fault. If people think they don't like your presentation, it's not the people's fault, it's your fault. I had that in the first 2 years of my YouTube career. And my professor told me in class, you got to be careful what comes out of your mouth, because you don't know who's watching. You don't know whose feelings you hurt, whose feelings you have offended. And if you don't apologize or if you don't own up to your mistakes, they're going to think you're an asshole. They're going to think you're a jerk. They're going to think something's wrong with you because you don't want to admit when you've done something wrong. Now let's get to television. Television, on the other hand, it's a little different. And I'm going to explain how television is a little different. With television, you're expected to give your best performance. You can make mistakes, they can edit it. Now, if you're not the main star of a television show, of course you ain't worrying about making mistakes. But with TV, it's called the Nielsen ratings. You see how TV is similar to film and YouTube. All 3, there's the top 5, the top 10, top 15, top 20. But in television, it's very competitive. You're competing against other television shows. Like, you look at late night TV talk show. You look at the Jay Leno show when he was on Jay Leno. There's Johnny Carson. There's all these other TV talk shows. That's prime time. With TV, you're competing against other shows. Whether it's in the daytime, afternoon, late afternoon to night, you got to compete. And if you can't keep up with the top 10 or top 20 competitors, you got 2 choices. Either you change your approach to how you do stuff in television, or you don't do television at all. Television's very competitive. A lot of the news anchors that you see on TV, they have to be careful what they say on camera, like me as of right now, because someone can take what you say at home personal. They get phone calls from their producers like, hey, you can't say that on TV no more. Like Stephen A. Smith. He has gotten into trouble twice because he have said some stuff on live broadcast that angered and offended a lot of people and have had to make public apologies. YouTubers have had that. I've had to make public apologies. I made a lot of public apologies. And guess what? And here's another rule with YouTube, film, and television. If your apology sounds like shit, guess what? People are going to tell you your apology was garbage. If people accept the apology, you will know. Now, you might say, what if I started off real good with YouTube and then the second 6 months or the year, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, bad stuff happens? Okay, I'm going to explain that in another video. It might be today, it might be tomorrow. It all depends on how I feel with this video. So that's the difference between YouTube and film and television.